I've discovered that one of the things that keeps people stuck in toxic relationships with narcissistically abusive personalities happens to be generational excuses. These are excuses that have trickled down throughout the past generations, oftentimes distorted and twisted to the point of being confusing and keeping people like you stuck in toxicity. One of these excuses happens to be that of spiritual warfare. This concept, this idea of over-spiritualizing the narcissistic abuse that you are experiencing has the effect of confusing you, keeping you stuck in a toxic situation, chained and bound, unable to go no contact, unable to break free, unable to step into the life that you've been called to live, unable to give the love that you've been called to give, and to receive the love that you've been called to receive. In this message, I want to share with you my own personal battle with over-spiritualizing narcissistic abuse. I want to share with you how it affected me and kept me stuck in a toxic relationship for far too long. And then after that, I want to share with you my own personal belief on what real spiritual warfare looks like. I mean, if we're going to talk about spiritual warfare and demon possession, then we better understand what the difference is between that and narcissistic abuse. So let's talk. My name is Kevin, and this is The Royal We. Now, before I do continue, I want to let you know that I'm here to support you. Down in the description box below this video, you'll find access for one-on-one appointments with me. So if you're stuck in toxicity, unable to go no contact, unable to move forward with your life, and you believe it's spiritual warfare, and you're suffering as a consequence, head on down there, schedule just 1 hour with me. I would love to talk with you about this to help break some chains off of your life. In addition to that, I do have a coaching program. My coaching program is live and in person each and every day. Now, the Royal We coaching program is centered this year on not only healing from narcissistic abuse, but stepping forward into 2024, breaking the chains, stepping into your calling, into your purpose. If you're looking for a community to hold you accountable, to make sure 2024 is your best year, then head on down there, join the Royal We coaching program. Now, I want to start by asking you a question. Those of you who have perhaps over-spiritualized narcissistic abuse, what has been the consequences in your life? Another way to ask this question is share in the comment section with everybody. What are some of the things that you have done as a result of believing it was spiritual warfare the entire time? Now, typically, when it comes to people over-spiritualizing narcissistic abuse, it leaves people in a place of praying more, trying harder, doing the dishes, acting nice, acting loving, being loving, taking out the foot bath and washing their feet like Jesus washed the feet of the disciples. Why? Because believing that it's over-spiritualized, believing that spiritual warfare may have you in this place of believing there's a chance and there's a hope that your kindness and your love and your prayer and your effort and your energy will somehow change the situation. But as a consequence, you're stuck in toxicity. And as the Bible says, hope deferred makes what? The heart sick. That's right. Not only are you wasting your energy and your effort in a toxic situation with narcissistically abusive people, but you're becoming sicker. You're dying. You're suffering as a result of believing that it is spiritual warfare and that it's a spiritual battle and that it's just a demon that you have to cast out. While you're sharing your story of what over-spiritualizing narcissistic abuse has done in your life, I'm going to share with you how it affected me. You see, when I was dealing with the narcissistically abusive people, simultaneously, I was heavily involved in church. No surprise, right? Not going to say the names of the church, but in California, I was on the worship teams of some big churches. I was also a part of the counseling teams. And while I was dealing with the narcissistically abusive personalities, I was given that message to keep showing my love, to keep showing up for them, to keep trying, not understanding how it was affecting my mental and emotional well-being, not understanding that I was the one dying as a result, understanding that my hope was causing my heart to become sick. And it can, in fact, make you sick. How many of you have become sick as a result of narcissistic abuse? But I kept doing things. It got to the point to where I was driving on my way to visit these narcissistically abusive people because At that time, the message I was receiving from the people I looked up to in church was, Kevin, keep loving them, keep showing up. I was driving to visit these people. I was praying in the car on the way, oh, Lord, please show up. I bind the demons in Jesus' name. I pray for connection and love and all this stuff. And I wasted so much time. I wasted my energy. I wasted my love. I wasted all of it. It just went into a black hole. And I was left wondering, where was Jesus? Where was God? Why? How many of you can resonate with this? How many of you have wasted years, wasted energy, exhausted yourself into a toxic situation, hoping and believing that it's going to change to the point of making yourself sick, only to find out that nothing's changing? You see, this concept of over-spiritualizing narcissistic abuse, had you believe that you can separate the spirit from the person that you're dealing with. You looked at them as different, even though it was the person who was abusing you. You're not combining them. This is the consequence of over-spiritualizing the situation. But as we know now, that no, it's the nature of a person that you're dealing with. And this is what we haven't taken seriously. And this is what happens when you stay in a toxic relationship trying to cast out demons or whatever, over-spiritualizing it. And again, this is a result and a consequence of buying into the generational excuse of narcissistic abuse or mean people or cruel people that are using you, abusing you, that it's spiritual warfare. Now, just to be sure, because I understand that this can be a difficult conversation to be had, because a lot of you and a lot of people, there's even pastors out there right now preaching about how it's spiritual warfare, and there's demons in them and this and that, which can have you trying to cast them out and wasting your effort and wasting your time. I understand this is a difficult conversation, but I also want to revisit some concepts with you, because when I go back to the scriptures and I strive to understand spiritual warfare, the spiritual warfare that's in the biblical text, not today's spiritual warfare, which is wrapped up with narcissistic abuse, right? But in the biblical text, spiritual warfare looked different. Yes, Jesus cast out demons and the disciples cast out demons. This can be called spiritual warfare, by the way. But really revisit those stories and revisit what they were up against. The spiritual warfare that they dealt with had to do with people and entities who were salivating at their mouth, eyes rolled in the back of their heads. These people were so terrifying in their presence that nobody would go near them. This is the spiritual warfare. This was the demon possession. These people were living in graveyards, for crying out loud. This was the spiritual warfare. Or it had to do with sickness and illness that was strange and weird, and seizures and fevers and things that seemed out of place. This was spiritual warfare. The point is to understand that the biblical context, the biblical text of spiritual warfare, had more to do with self-harm. Self-harm with these people, with their salivating mouths and their eyes rolled to the back of their heads, cutting themselves. These are the demons that were being cast out. Now, compare these stories, really, to what you're dealing with narcissistic abuse. You see, how many of you are dealing with somebody who's salivating at their mouth, eyes rolled to the back of their head, seizing and seizures and convulsing and high fevers and cutting themselves and all this? It doesn't look like that at all, does it? No. You're dealing with people who are using you, who are saying demeaning things towards you, who are not caring about you, who are not loving you, who are taking from you and not reciprocating, who are lying about you, who are gossiping about you, who are spreading all kinds of rumors, who are making your life miserable, but for their own gratification. Yet on all outward appearance, they seem normal, don't they? Do you see the difference between the narcissistically abusive people that you're dealing with, maybe in your family, maybe in a group of friends, maybe even in your marriage? Do you see the difference between that and the spiritual warfare that's indicated in the biblical text? I think it's important that we understand the difference. There's actually a biblical text that helps us to understand this difference too. You see, there's a story of Jesus confronting Judas. How many of you have heard of the Judas? Judas is the one in the text who betrayed Jesus, so to speak. But what's interesting about this text is that Jesus addressed Judas by his name. Before Judas turned in Jesus, Jesus didn't cast out a demon. He didn't address a demon. He addressed Judas. Judas, go do what you're about to do, you narcissistic person. He didn't say that. I'm adding that. But you get the point. Jesus said, Judas, go do what you're about to do for your own glory, for your own benefit. Go get the money that you want to get by turning me in. Go, Judas. Jesus didn't address a demon. He addressed Judas. And then in the garden, as that story continued, Judas was there to show the Roman guards exactly which one Jesus was so that they can arrest him and go beat him, right? The way Judas did it was by kissing him on the cheek. He told the guards, the one I kiss on the cheek is the one you want to get. That's the one you want to jump. That's the one you want to hurt, right? Jesus, once again, once Judas kissed him, he addressed who? Judas. Not a demon. He didn't cast out any spirits. He said, Judas, really? You're going to betray me with a kiss? You see, Jesus is giving us an image. There's a difference in this life of knowing what spiritual warfare really is, and when you're dealing just with a selfish, inherent, natured, cruel, mean person that has nothing to do with spiritual warfare. It's just their own selfish glory that they seek. How many of you are dealing with Judases? People who want to use you for their own glory, take from you, rob from you, steal from you, lie about you, manipulate you, gossip about you. What I would encourage you to do is, if you want to get into this territory of spiritual warfare, well, then at least see it how Jesus saw it. You're not dealing with an evil spirit. You're not dealing with a demon possession. You're not dealing with an entity that's causing a person's eyes to roll to the back of their head while they're salivating at the mouth, convulsing there in front of you, cutting themselves. The presence that you're not dealing with the presence of a person that's so terrifying nobody wants to go near them. No. You're dealing with no more than a Judas, an inherent narcissistic nature, an individual who lives for their own glory, seeks their own benefit. This is not spiritual warfare, folks. This is my point. Now, perhaps I'm off. And so I want to ask for you to share your thoughts, especially those of you who have been wasting time and energy and effort, those of you who are now sick because you have poured hope and love into a situation believing that it was spiritual warfare, when in fact, it was no more than a selfish, narcissistic natured person who wants nothing more than to squash you in life and take what's yours. There is a difference. The point of this video is to get you to a place where you stop wasting your time, stop over-spiritualizing narcissistic abuse. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. I don't want you to be sick any longer. Stop wasting your hope in a black hole. Stop wasting your prayers in a black hole. Stop wasting your love and pouring yourself into a black hole. It's probably not spiritual warfare. It's probably just narcissistic abuse from the cruel nature of a selfish, narcissistic person, not a spirit. Leave the spirits and the demons out of this one. As I said before, I'm here to support you. Down in the description box, you'll find access for one-on-one appointments with me. So if you're looking for someone to help guide you through this, head on down there, schedule some time with me. If you're new to the channel, I encourage you to like this video, subscribe to this channel. I will be back every day with a video for you to help encourage you and inspire you. Until I'm back with another video, I encourage you to watch one of these videos right here that YouTube is recommending for you. I believe it's going to be helpful, and I'll be back with more videos right here on The Royal We.